It should be easy. Walk, I would say, stands up. Uh, that's amazing that this video was so easy to find.
I have.
So you have it?
I think I have it archived. Hang on.
Oh, we've shown it before. We've shown it
Here,
before.
right here.
There you go. Go ahead, Rob. He just gets up and he puts his hands up. That quick of a reaction.
Instant. He goes, I'm ready.
Quick of a reaction.
Mhm.
You think he wasn't on it? You think he knew anything?
Absolutely. And he's famous for showing up at other big, horrible events and doing key things like this. And definite intelligence operative. Turns out he's got cancer, I was hearing. So this is probably like, his deal to get some money for his family or whatever. But the point is that there was all sorts of weirdness like this going on that day.
So how far are you following the story with Candace and Erica Kirk?
Oh, I followed it.
What do you think about that?
I think Erica Kirk obviously is a theater kid, and so her way of coping with this was to get up there and really put on a big show. That's what TPUSA does. Look, their Super Bowl halftime was amazing, way better than Super Bowls. It was like, wow, I was like, damn, this is really good. I don't usually like watching rock and roll or anything on TV. I like being there in person. So people saw all the big pageantry after he died. They thought, well, this looks like she's not sad. No, that's her putting on a good face, going on and doing it. And I'm not defending about TPUSA. I'm not paid by them. I've been at a few of their events and spoke. When I've defended TPUSA, they go, oh, you must be working for them. No. I know that Candace had the Brexit, and they were going to use that for the Brexit stuff, and then they bought her company. And then I know that she got upset about that. And I know that she was also mad about some other things. And so the internet, it was a huge sensation questioning whether there was other shooters, whatever. And we also covered it. Lots of weird anomalies, like the bullet going in the neck and not going out the back. Give me a break. So we have questions. I mean, I think it should be investigated. But to say that TPUSA killed him, and then the Egyptians, and then the Israelis, and French intelligence, and then their secret Huachuca, and the guy was in Fort Huachuca. We never said he wasn't. He was acting weird, and they detained him. But the point is, everybody else has alibis that they weren't there at some meeting the day before planning his murder. It's not how it works, anyways. And so I looked up the guy they had as a witness, and he was like famous comment named Mitch Snow, who said he'd already raised money before, saying my wife stole my son and beat me in the hands, and broke my feet with hammers, and locked me in the garage as a prisoner, and all this stuff. And then meanwhile, he was convicted of that. And then his ex-wife just released the footage to everybody of him tapping the keys to the car, and him attacking with a hammer, and him breaking the doors. And I'm just like, Candace, you cannot have this guy say he's at Fort Huachuca and on my show. Seemed pretty nice and everything. And that was like 10, 11 years ago, whatever it was. I forget, 10 years ago, I forget. And then she just all this stuff happens, and she's done some good work. But now it's gotten to where she's like, I'm here in Tennessee, and I grew up in Connecticut, and I've never seen the ice, on the trees not melt. It's 30 degrees. Why is it melting? And I just went on there and commented, well, ice melts at above 32 degrees. And then they all attacked me and said, you're wrong. It can melt at any temperature, she says. And then I even had one of her co-hosts who was over at my studio, somebody else's show, and I made a joke to him in the hall. I said, so if Candace says ice is, melts at 30 degrees, he said, he goes, it does melt at that. And I went, he goes, and I said, well, I said, if it's salt water, it can. And he was like, exactly. It's just like, I mean, it has reached this cuckoo level now where what's going to happen is now that we've woken up so many people that weren't that smart, but now it's so obvious the government and the media is lying to them. Now they just think they can go choose whatever reality they want. You understand? And so the new thing is you're going to have people that serve the globalists, people that fight the globalists, try to build a new future, and those that just believe the earth is flat, that believe I'm a clone, that just believe everything's a fraud, that they don't think nuclear weapons are real, they don't think satellites are
Ask
real.
you one question. Here's one question about Candace.
Yeah.
Is if somebody said to Trump what Candace is saying about Erica Kirk, Trump would have sued him and put him out of business. Okay? She just came out. I think one of the girls this morning was telling me, I don't know who it was.
She says Erica needs to be arrested.
Yeah. So you say something like that. I just saw this morning. You say something like that. Why isn't Erica Kirk in Turning Point USA?
Listen, if Erica gets killed by a nut now, it'll be a false flag by Mossad. You see how it works. No matter what Candace does, she's insulated now. It's never her fault. Yeah, I mean, I believe Candace.
If it's defamation, that's a defamation lawsuit.
Well, I don't want to be mean to Candace, but I've looked in her eyes. I've watched her carefully. You can see the look. I think she's gone in like a megalomania. And I think her husband, and I said this months ago, he needs to intervene. I don't mean shut her down or stop her, but she needs to go to, and they go, oh, that's how the Soviet Union controls people. It's sending away to no. I'm saying I believe she's mentally ill. And she has this total scorn and just wants to destroy TPUSA. And you're right. TPUSA is one of the game changers that got Trump elected. 2.5 million young people just for the last election. It's expanded some now, but it's gotten really tainted by this. And she's in there attacking their donors. She wants the whole thing burned down. And it is malicious for maliciousness' sake. And she serialized all this made-up crap. I mean, what they claimed I did with Sandy Hook, I never did any of that. This is what they claimed I did. You just serialize BS and monetize it. And I hate to be mean to Candace because I like her as a person. Think she's a nice person in the past. But notice that's Trump again. Because Trump will sit there and watch his most key pillars of support vaporized and not come in and support them. And I know TPUSA doesn't want to sue her. Listen, they have contract.
Why don't they?
They have non-compete stuff with her. They have their Blixit contract with her. They have all this stuff because they don't want to escalate.
But if they don't they also have where she can't defame them?
Yeah, all of it.
So then if that's the case, if she's breaking it and you don't do anything, you're confusing the market. So there's two things. Say you don't do anything. A percentage of the market will say what? Well, maybe she's right. Maybe they're afraid. So if you do something, then the market's going to say, let's see what happens. Here's a lawsuit. So to me, I don't follow this very closely right now.
I don't either.
I just get clips that are sent my way.
Check out it.
I get stuff that's sent my way, and I follow the Macron stuff very closely. I thought she was doing a great job with that to see what happened. And we still don't know what happened there. But, some of the stuff is very weird with Macron and the husband. But to me, if TPUSA doesn't take any action, she gains more credibility, period. And if I'm Candace would say, well, if I'm wrong, sue me. Go ahead, sue me. That's a very interesting slippery slope. Trump would have stopped it a long time ago if this was taking place. I wonder why they're not.
Well, speaking of that, I'd like to give you an update on what's happening with InfoWars.
Go for it.
Okay, because I've seen you guys cover it, and you've been very overall fair, but I don't blame you not knowing because it would take years for you to know it all, okay? Because I didn't understand it until later in the process. So 12, 13 years ago, a kid on a bunch of SSRIs, his mom buys a rifle. He goes, reportedly shoots a bunch of kids at this school. In Connecticut, I don't ever say that it was staged for the exact number, like a year or something. Professors in Florida and Wisconsin and a bunch of other places, they come out and they say they think it didn't happen. And then they start giving what their evidence is. It becomes this sensation on the internet, hundreds of millions of views, some videos per video on YouTube, tens of millions. My listeners are demanding I have these guys on. So I have them on. I have them debate newspaper editors that think it did happen, and I probably did 10 shows on it total over the years. They put into evidence suing me 22 minutes, and it was just me with a caller going. Caller's like, I think it's fake. And I can see it's synthetic, yeah, fake. And then they would use that to then say I sent people to pee on the kids' graves and all this stuff that never happened. Period. You understand? Much less from me. And then Hillary runs $25 or $26 million, whatever it was, of ads the last month of the run in 2016, saying Trump says Alex Jones is amazing. Alex Jones says this never happened. And they show like a 3-second clip of me saying synthetic fake. Then Trump wins. Well, then I didn't know what was happening. They start running, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of articles a day, sometimes thousands. I get the Google alerts because it'd be like an AP article, be everywhere syndicated. Some days, 33,000 articles, but it would be AP in 25,000 places. But I'd be on every channel. Remember, for months and months and years, like they were invading a country. And I didn't understand. Well, they were running ads through these charities that were set up in association with Bloomberg and the families. Whenever you hear the families, there's 20 families. 6 people from like a few couple families are who sued me. I only ever said the name of one parent. Okay. Under the law, you're not supposed to be able to sue somebody unless you said their name. So I didn't know what was happening until last year when we got the documents. People pointed it out where to find it. Mike Benz type folks, not him, was in the public record. So I'm sitting there for like 2 years. They sue me. I haven't even talked about it in years. Before they sue me, I'm like, I think it happened. Stop saying I did this to you. They were running ads on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where it wasn't for gun control. It's Alex Jones attacking us. They're attacking us. We need money. So we later learned they raised at one charity, just run by 2 of the parents, $300 million off of my name over like a 5-year period, and directly off of me. Like they attack me, the money goes for nothing. This they sue me. This the show trials happen. Boom. We then learned that the Justice Department would pay the Connecticut law firm 1 to 2 weeks before each time they would put their bill in each year, and then the Justice Department would give that exact charity, a couple of them, millions of dollars. We have all the screenshots off the federal websites, all this, okay? And there's a lawsuit being filed imminently, probably even today, finally, my civil rights lawsuit for all of this. So I didn't understand what's going on. Like, why am I on every channel? I barely ever talked about this. I'm in restaurants. People are going, quit making your money off those kids. They're saying I made hundreds of millions off these kids. They're saying I have hundreds. I never made hundreds of millions. My company had made gross hundreds of millions. But that's like you sell a water filter and you make 35% on it. This guy sold $10 million of water filters. Yeah, we made $3.5 million and we advertising and crew. It's like, business. So like this company made $60 million this year. Yeah, and about $20 million of it was genuine profit. You pay half the taxpayer employees, So, but they're saying he's got hundreds of millions he made off these people. They're telling the juries, but here's the key. They said I never gave him discovery. I gave him all the discovery. Everything. It was made up that I didn't give him discovery. Then the judges find me guilty. It's called a default, which they did to Mike.
No one's talking about how the recent price hike in RAM and SSD components has inflated the price of new laptops, making them really hard to justify. Which is why Supercom's refurbished range is the smarter move. You get premium, business-grade performance without the effects of that massive price hike. We specialize in grade A Microsoft-certified refurbished devices. That means you're getting a fully functional machine that is as close to new as refurbished gets. Each device comes with a new, genuine Windows 11 Pro operating system, offering a cleaner interface and improved multitasking. And we've got
And so now he's going to tell a jury this year that Mike is guilty and the jury will rule against him. So that's default right there, okay? Judge rules. My pillow guy, Mike Lindell, defamed Smartmatic with false claims. He was defaulted. But in this case, the judge didn't even say he didn't give him discovery. They don't want his discovery. It's all to prove he was right. The judge is finding that it's impossible because these machines cannot be accessed. They have cell phones built into them and ports plugged into them. We have famous cases in the elections where the Dominion and Smartmatic crews come in during the elections and plug in. Everybody knows that. So the point is this fundamental lie, this is how they get you now. We need major reform over this default garbage. So both judges in Texas and in Connecticut find me guilty. They then have show trials after 4 years suing me, 1 month after the next, right before the midterms. Okay, last time before 2024. No, 2022. And so I'm in there, and there's lights, and they're putting powder on the judge and the other people, and and the judge, kicks the jury out and cuts off the YouTube feed and says, now there's 20 things you can't say. You can't say you're innocent. You can't say you don't have 400 million, all this stuff. And I'm like, and so people say, why aren't my lawyers defending me? She would then go have conferences behind the deal, not let them have a record of it, and tell them, I'll sanction you. You can't do it. So it was literally totally rigged. First time guilty, but now she's got to have the show trial where the jury's told I'm guilty, given false evidence. They put on days of evidence that I had $300 million in the bank. The man never examined our files. It was just totally made up. He said our whole business model was different than it was. He talked like Thurston the Howell the Third. Wasn't even. And then the jury, we talked to them later. They go, well, since you got $360 million, we thought they deserved 10% of your money. I mean, 45 million. And meanwhile, I was negative in the bank then and had never made more than myself like $8 million, $10 million a year. Okay, those are my best years ever. I needed it for legal fees anyways. So I'm just sitting here. And the judge said those 2 days, you are not allowed to put on a defense. We had to sit there and say not one word why this guy just gets up there and makes up a complete
Who's this judge?
fantasy land. She's literally you go to her Facebook. She supports, Antifa, everything else. Her judge's name is Guerra Gamble.
Guerra Gamble?
Guerra Gamble.
There it is. Yeah, Guerra Gamble.
Yeah, and then she is literally used to have like on her Facebook blue hair. And
her?
Yeah, that's her. And
what do we know about her?
In Texas, the judges are elected. She's literally financed by consortiums of Soros money, and she's just unbelievable. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
So where's it at now?
Well, listen, it gets worse. Then a few years later, the HBO produced a documentary. Okay, so it's all scripted. I'm forced to be an actor in this. I didn't understand until later. That's why I couldn't talk unless they said. Couldn't say I was innocent. And she walks the red carpet at South by Southwest. Well, this is the main premiere at the big giant movie theater with everyone clapping like she's a movie star. Judges aren't supposed to be in a movie about their own deal that they shoot during the trial and then walk the red carpet and be part of the event. That is unbelievable. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Where is it at now? What I want to, how much have you paid? What can you disclose to us? What's next?
Well, yeah, that's how the lie always works. He refuses to pay the families. Of the 20 families, only 6 people sued me. Never said the names of anybody but one person. And so they got a $45 million judgment in Texas. They got a $1.4 billion in Connecticut. The interest on it's like $600 million already. If you remember, they asked for 2.67 trillion or 2.76. What was it? Guys, type in Bloomberg. Sandy Hook family's lawyers asked for over 2 trillion. And so, which is the GDP of India. And it's all about horrifying people. It's all about driving people into submission. So
stop it.
Yeah, 2.75 trillion now. Sorry.
Sandy Hook family said a Connecticut judge should impose the highest possible punitive damages for Alex Jones, suggesting by one calculation could be as high as 2.75 trillion. And they couldn't pay that. Countries couldn't pay that. Where did it come up with 2.7?
The U.S. couldn't pay that right now.
Where did it come up with that number?
They got up and said to the judge. In fact, there's another Bloomberg headline that says lawyers for the families asked for 2.75 trillion. So you asked where this is going. Ladies and gentlemen, it's worse than I'm saying because there's so much to say. They got me in conferences. The only reason I can say this is because they said it outside of the mediations in Connecticut and Texas. And they said, if you just stop covering guns and stop supporting Trump and all this, we'll just drop all this. So this is all about pure harassment. They also have said they never want money. So they'll say in the news, we want money, we want money, we want money. He got all our money. He made money off us. That's not true. Don't have money to make money off him. They made $300 million off me fundraising. Okay. And they got Justice Department money to fund their lawsuits. So on top of it, and you've got all these other high-powered politicians involved. But now, if they set this precedent, which they're doing it to everybody, Giuliani defaulted, Mike Lindell defaulted, all vindicated, doesn't matter. They're going to do this to everybody. This is their new thing, where they default you, and then now, I literally have almost no money in the bank. Under Texas law, I get to keep my house, my car. I don't care. That's fine. But I never had all this money, they said, and so we have it on appeal still at the state of Texas. The Supreme Court, Texas is going to overturn it because the stuff she did was crazy. Even though she found me guilty and then the jury agreed to that, she then, 2 weeks after the show trial, said, I'm finding you guilty of elder abuse because one of the parents is above 63 now. And I'm going to then bust the cap. It was like $500,000 so they could get to their 45 million. Well, she said, I don't care what the Supreme Court. She said in the ruling, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I'm doing this. So the Supreme Court has that. That's going to get overturned. But I've already been to the Supreme Court on the Connecticut case. And they refused to hear it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because in this case, you have serious conspiracy against rights, civil rights violations, where all these groups colluded. Remember when they said the Onion and Bloomberg 2 years ago or a year and a half ago bought InfoWars and it was shut?
Yes.
And then the federal judge overrode it? Then they did a bunch more stuff like that, turning the lights out, sending in armed security, all this stuff. I mean, it has been like the Alamo down there. And so finally, the federal court kicked it out in bankruptcy of 3 years, said we wash our hands because they would never agree to anything. He kicks into state court. Barbara Bellis, the same judge, she said, signs a receiver and tells him to come over. Under the law, he's supposed to sell it at auction, but they don't want it sold at auction. So now he has just come in and said he's no longer going to allow it to operate and fund next month, even though the money's there to run it. And so they're going to close the doors. He says somewhere around the 7th of March, finally, and we'll shut down. I have the Alex Jones backup network to other people own. I'll pop back on the air, follow me on next Alex Jones, things like that. But my point is that all the rules are being violated. Well, that's fine because I've got good, high-powered lawyers now, and I had good ones before, but they didn't understand this was the next level corruption they were dealing with by the courts that are hitting them at every level, and not every court's corrupt. And the stuff we've got, we deposed them over a year ago, just admitting that, oh yeah, the plaintiffs and the families, yeah, we got together with the U.S. trustee of the Justice Department that came into my case, and we decided people that are going to work with Alex Jones will never be allowed to get this company. So that's why they had the staged. Auction was because the judge ordered an auction, so they had a staged auction that wasn't real.